Good afternoon. I'm Ross from Smith 150 Group Property Accountants, and we're just going to look at a new build opportunity and just go through some numbers and see what's sort of going around, what sort of properties there are available. And yeah, obviously at the moment, everyone is going, let's buy a new build. We'll get the interest deductions. And generally what I'm saying is look at the numbers, look how good or bad they are, and do they actually work? So this is just an example. One quick little glance at this before I haven't actually done the numbers. I'm thinking it could actually work. So let's have a little run through it and see what happens and see what the good and bad things are. So we're looking at today something a little bit different. This is not the picture. I haven't shared exactly what it is, but it's a little bit different. It is 3 stories. It's a 2-bedroom, and it's also got a 1-bedroom studio. So a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. So yeah, the first thing I always look at when you're looking at developments is how many units are there, and what happens. So this picture obviously doesn't show them all, but in this case, there's over 20 units in this development. So what I'm wondering is, where do all the people park? So, and yeah, with this development, they've got 1 car park each in general. So you've got 20 or more apartments, you've got 1 car park each. But if they've got a 2-bedroom, that could be 3 or 4 people. 3 or 4 cars. You've got a 1-bedroom studio. That's going to be 1 or 2 cars. So we've got 5 or 6 cars, but we've got 1 car. 1 car park. So that to me is going to create a big problem. If you've got the same in all of them, you've got 20 looking for 3 to 6 car parks, but they've only got 1 each. Where are all these extra cars going to park? So potentially in a worst case, yeah, you could have something like looking for 100+ car parks, but there's only 20. So yeah, be very careful on car parking. Think that through. Yeah, the 2-bedroom and studio is going to be really good from a rental yield point of view, but from a car park point of view, of only 1 car park for the 2-bedroom and the 1-bedroom, that's going to be a problem. And also just a general think about it, you're getting up 20 or more units, you're getting a lot of units in one place. How's that going to be long term? You're wanting a long-term property that's going to go up in value, be easy to rent. You're looking for long-term passive income and a long-term investment. What is it going to look like in 20 years' time? Yeah, how's it going to be with all those tenants potentially in that area, and what it's going to look like? So then we start to look at the numbers. So yeah, it's a 2-bedroom plus a 1. So yeah, 2-bedroom, a studio, new build in Christchurch. The price is $799,000. You've then got some costs to buy. So normally you'd get a valuation. You might set up a new company. Yeah, there might be some other costs. You might do building inspections. You might do some legal fees and things like that. You're going to get some more costs. And then often you'll get a bank contribution, which will offset some of that. So my 2 figures sort of offset, but just bear in mind there is always extra costs. Hopefully you come and see someone like me and get some advice and go through how this is going to work in your specific case as well. Rent, yeah, again, looking at more than 20 units, yeah, how quickly is that going to get full? How much competition are you going to get? What's the demand for 1-bedrooms? It's sort of a different market, and the same with the lack of car parks. What's going to be the demand? So I wouldn't go 52 weeks. I'd probably go 50 weeks, and I'm a bit hesitant on that. I'd want to know more about the market. The rental appraisal that the developer's given is $920 per week. That sounds awesome. So obviously one of your big tricks or things that you want to check is you want to get an independent rental appraisal. So that's not just going to the developer and getting them to give you the rental appraisal. You actually want to ring and talk to, probably in this case, 2 independent rental managers. Talk to them about the location. What's the demand for a 1-bedroom studio and a 2-bedroom townhouse that's all joined together and there's 1 car park? How easy is that going to be to rent? And you might find that you actually adjust your number of weeks from that, or you might find that the rent could be higher or lower depending on that. But yeah, always get independent advice about that, and don't just email, actually have a chat. You get so much information about chatting to a property manager, and yeah, check that you're actually going to get the rent and there's the demand and things in there. Then you're looking at accounting, just like all costs, things going up all the time. Body corporate. This particular example doesn't have a body corporate. In some ways, I prefer body corporate. It gives you very specific rules and guidelines for how it gets run, how costs get split up. In this case, as a residents association, more than 20 owners. It'll be interesting how that pans out long term when you've got share car parks, roads, who pays for them? Is there a long-term maintenance fund set up? I would be spending some time and an effort investigating how that would be working. And yeah, generally developers are trying to do freehold titles with residents associations because buyers prefer that than a body corporate. In some ways, I'd prefer that body corporate where all the property is insured as one, simple and easy with the insurance company, and yeah, the repairs are looked after, and there's a long-term maintenance fund. But bear in mind that you are going to have some costs. It's a brand new, but yeah, the body corporate or owners association is still going to cost you something. Insurance, a really big one is can you actually get insurance? Like I said, the insurance companies, you're one of 20 or more, they're not going to like insuring you because you've got a shared roof with others, and that gives them a risk area. So just double check, can you actually get insurance? And anywhere, Wellington, Christchurch, earthquake issues, just worth checking as well. So because it's Christchurch, your insurance is going to be higher. I'd be guessing 2.5 at least. Yeah, so a higher cost at the moment. Your interest rate today, yeah, we're getting late April 2022, maybe 4.25% for 1 year, and we'll look at that a bit more. Then you've got property management. I'm running at 8% off your income at the moment. The rates, they actually provide this, that's going to be 2,800. This property is getting built, so I'd probably allow a little bit more. I'd probably go with 3,000. That costs will slowly go up, things will happen. New builds should have really low maintenance. You've effectively got 2 new builds. You've got a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. And thinking about that a bit more, I'll actually go a little bit higher on the insurance. So yeah, rather than 500 repairs, you're going to have 2 of them, so 1,000 repairs. I then allow for a little bit of education. Yeah, you might join something, or I suggest you do join your local property investor association. I'm in Hamilton, so I'm a member of Waikato Property Investors. Travel, if you don't live in Christchurch, you might want to fly down once a year and have a look at something. So I allow some expenses. So we're looking at 46,000 of income, which is a 5.75% gross yield, which is a really good gross yield. But what you can see is with the expenses slowly ticking along, even with interest rate at 4.25, we're running at a $3,000 cash loss. So yeah, it is very hard to buy any standard property that adds up and where the rent actually pays all the expenses. So even with this, yeah, having a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom, so 2 income streams, it's still struggling on cash flow. And that's at 4.25% interest rate. Obviously, if interest rate goes up long term, yeah, that cash flow is going to get worse and worse. Chattels depreciation, any new build, you're going to get chattels depreciation from Valueit. They're going to depreciate the carpets, the curtains, the dishwasher, the stove, the heat pump, the fences, the decks, the driveways, the paths, all the different parts. Yeah, you're looking at reasonable depreciation, especially with there being sort of 2 properties in it. 75,000, that would be awesome. 7,500 would be my quick guess. So you're looking at a 10,000 loss for tax. You're looking at no tax to pay. If this is your only property, that loss will get ring fenced. You can't offset it against your personal income. So really, yeah, you'll have no tax to pay for a while. You'll end up with an overall cash surplus of, yeah, losing $3,000, interest rate at 4.25. My ugly red line is if it was existing and you lose interest deductibility, this would be a new build, so you'd have interest deductibility for the next 20 years. Yeah, so that's the cash flow. You're sort of average. The next thing I would look at with cash flow is P&I. So if you have to go on P&I, and chances are that you're going to be forced onto it sooner or later by banks, you're going to be 16,000 negative. If you do principal and interest, that's 16,000 that you're going to have to put in each year to break even. If you do principal and interest over 30 years, so you're looking at paying about 13,000 of principal. And yeah, before or after tax makes no difference because you are paying no tax, you're making a loss. Yeah, so that's getting quite negative, and yeah, that's your risk or problem with this, is you're going to get quite negative if you have to go P&I. Looking at a 10-year picture, I try and guess out what's going to happen over the next 10 years. It's a big guessing game, and interest rates are a nightmare. So I've got it, maybe you're going 4.25, maybe you'll fix half of it for 1 year, and you'll fix half of it for maybe 3 years, then a 5 year. So 1 year, maybe 4.25 now, then up to 5, 6 over the next couple of years, then maybe they'll overcook it and it'll come back down slightly. It's a big fat guess. No one knows exactly, but the thing is, you're looking at, everyone's talking about the 4.25% going up. So yeah, you're looking at that potentially getting higher. Fixing some, it gives you, yeah, a different, it's that old saying, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So aggressive would be 1 year and hope it stays low. More conservative would be to spread it, to have some other loans. So for this example, I've done some 3 year, some 5 year, yeah, then going into a 5 year. And so interest rates sort of, yeah, going up and then coming back a little bit. Interesting, you can just see from this, yeah, if we went 5.45 for 3 years, if it did go 4.25 to 5 to 6, that's obviously going to average somewhere around the 5% over those 3 years, which would be below this 5.45. That is a big fat guess. I'm not saying that you should fix all 1 year. It's just a different example with it. So if we look over the next 10 years, then we've got property graph. Again, guessing property, will it increase? Will it go flat? Will it go down? Big fat guess. What this shows is generally long-term that property goes well. So peak in 2008, market went flat for a long time. Something like Hamilton, which is similar to pretty much everywhere apart from Auckland and Christchurch, it went pretty much flat for about 7 years. I think it went up 25,000 over 7 years or something like that. Very small, very flat over 7 years. And then the last few years have boomed like absolute crazy. Normal average, 6.3% is your normal median growth. So recent years, property has gone like absolute crazy, well away from that growth. So it's something to be a bit careful of. But the key thing from this is you want to buy the property and hold it long term. If you buy right at the peak of 2008, still own it now, you're going to have done really well. So yeah, you want to be looking at a 10, 15 year picture, not a 1 or 2 year picture. Yeah, you obviously can do okay from property trading, but if you're looking to be a long-term investor, you really need to be looking 10, 15 years. You want long-term gains, not a quick little flick. So yeah, 10-year picture, 799,000, you hope goes up to 1.4. Let's just say it's interest only and you manage to convince your bank somehow to stay interest only. Your mortgage will still be about 800,000. Rents slowly go up over time. All your expenses going up. I've got interest rates, like I said, split them, some 3 year to start with, some 1 year, then going to a 5 year. Yeah, interest rates getting more and more and more, and then back down a little bit. Your cash flow, yeah, by splitting those mortgages and going higher than 4.25, I've got a much bigger cash loss, getting bigger and then getting smaller again, breaking even if we get down to those lower interest rates. So if we can get back down to sort of the 5%, 4.5 to 5%, then it starts to get us some even cash flow. But yeah, you're looking those first sort of 8 years quite negative. Chattel's depreciation will get less and less and less. You'll end up with a big loss, no tax to pay. And overall, we're looking at, it's a classic gamble on capital gains. We're looking at losing $60,000 over the whole 10 years. So you're gambling $60,000, hoping it will go up 600,000. From this, would I buy this property? To me, I would be really nervous about those number of apartments. Yeah, over 20 units starting to get up there, a lot of people living in a confined area. I'd be really nervous about the one car park for each. Also, I'd be looking at things like, yeah, buying off the plan. So is there any clauses where the property can go up in value? You buy it for $799, but somehow it escalates because of COVID and steel and concrete prices go up. So I'd be looking at the contract with the lawyer and going through it. Yeah, is there any way those prices can go up? Is there a sunset clause? So as it's getting built, somehow it jumps up in value. Can the developer cancel the contract and you end up with nothing? I would be looking at those and going through them with the lawyers. I would also be thinking, if it's off the plans, in a year or two when it's finished, what will the value be? Could the market go down? Might it be worth less than $7.99? Could it be worth more? Very hard to know. The next couple of years is going to be really hard to guess what's going to happen in property. But most people at the moment talking about flat or backwards. Can you still get finance in a couple of years' time? So say situation change, yeah, go from 2 incomes to one of you lose a job, have an accident, those sort of things. Yeah, have a baby, have time off. What's going to happen? Will you still be able to get finance when you need it? And that's a big thing to be careful of. Great if the property jumps up in value, but it's not so likely that it's really going to balloon in value over the next couple of years. So I'd be really careful about that finance, and also really careful about the developer. We can all do some fancy pictures and get someone to do a picture up that's going to look absolutely amazing. How good is the picture you've been sold compared with reality? And I would be going back through their old developments, talking to some owners, looking at the old flyers and materials and seeing, did they actually deliver what they'd promised, and did it actually look good? Is it good quality and everything like that? So yeah, I would sort of really be going through that carefully. And yeah, overall for me, yeah, just that too many really puts me off. Yeah, the car parking, all those people living in the one area. Yeah, this one's over 20 units. You've got a lot of people in a small space for that. And also a lot of it, I'd be checking that property manager, what's that demand going to be like long term? Is that rent realistic? Are you going to get it long term? In Christchurch, yeah, it seems that every second developer we hear of or talk to every second investor seems to be buying a property in Christchurch. So it's just interesting, with so many new properties being bought by investors, is there that many more tenants? And again, that links back to your chat with your property manager. How big is that demand? What do they see happening long term? And trying to get some different opinions and make sure they are independent. Yeah, you don't want to be chatting to the property developer's best mate who's the property manager, or a company owned by the property development company or associated to it. You want to get some good independent advice around that. So yeah, hopefully that's given you a few different ideas. We'll just actually flick through some numbers on just something slightly different to it. That was one example. Just another property that I've seen very similar. It's an example of, I think it's a 2-bedroom new build in Christchurch. This is sort of a more stock standard one. And I'll just find the information and bring that up. So one of these will be cheaper. I'm just seeing if I can find the price for it. The rent for these would be more like $520. Seeing if I can see the price. Oh, here we go. So we'll go a cheaper one. It's $689. It's probably a little cheap. Let's just go 700,000. It's in the same unit. It's just a straight 2-bedroom new build. So we've got the same sort of things, some cost to buy. You're going to get some sort of contribution. The rent that they're looking at, so it's a 2-bedroom. Looking at renting at, yeah, $520 per week. The same for me. With so many of them, I'd be going 51 weeks. It's only a 2-bedroom. It's not in the studio, so it should be hopefully a little bit easier to rent. But yeah, I'd still be looking at, yeah, 51 weeks. You're down to under 4% gross yield. So with the other numbers, just going to compare what I put in the other one. Rates you'd expect to be slightly less. Repairs and maintenance back down to normal. Yeah, again, some seminars, some education, some travel. We're looking at 26,000 in. We're looking at 41,000 out. So yes, stock standard 2-bedroom. giving us a 3.78% gross yield, losing 15,000 a year. It's a new build, so yeah, you're going to get the interest deductions. Chattel's depreciation, it depends. Get the report done through value again. And so this one, we're looking at losing 14,000 plus depreciation, having a 20,000 tax loss. Yeah, no tax refund if you've got no other properties. It's just ring fence that loss is carried forward. An overall cash loss, 15,000. If you had to go P&I, we're looking 26,000 loss, or 26,000 you have to put in each year over 30 years to do principal and interest. It's huge. If we're looking over 10 years, we've just got the different sort of numbers here. So the one we looked at, which was the 2 and the 1. So yeah, 2 plus 1 was 6,000 negative. The stock standard 2-bedroom, you're looking at losing 18,000, 19,000 a year. That's interest only. So a huge cash loss. So if you were looking, the 2 plus 1 is a maybe that could work in your situation and maybe you like it. The straight 2-bedroom, yeah, losing 19,000 a year. Ouch, it's such a huge amount of cash. There's no way I'd be doing that. To me, that's just way too big a gamble on capital gains. And like over a 10-year period, you still could be laughing at me and going, why did Ross say that? Why did he not like this? I've made 500,000 capital gain and it cost me 200,000. I'm up 343,000 over 10 years. Yes, that's possible. That's probably what will happen in a real long-term picture, but you've got to survive putting in $19,000 a year interest only. If you have to go P&I, that's a lot of cash out of your pocket. So yeah, just be very, very careful with that. And yeah, with both of these, still very careful about the number of units, and with those car parks is still a big stumbling block for me. So yeah, simple. Just like anything, if you're doing a new build, you still got to look at the numbers. And just because the interest is deductible doesn't mean it's going to be good. You need to look more, and something like a stock standard 2-bedroom new build in Christchurch is just hideous numbers at the moment. So be very careful of what that looks like. Yeah, something a little bit different. Maybe, especially if you can develop it yourself, you can put a duplex on the back of your personal house, on back of a rental or something. It's going to give you a whole lot better numbers and hopefully some equity gains through building it, subdividing as well. Something like this, which is on the market, yeah, it's not terrible, just still wouldn't really be me. And a lot of that's more the numbers that it's, yeah, so many units around there, it's putting me off. And just one last thing with the new builds is, yeah, these are all just based on standard interest rates. ANZ's still got its back my build or its new build rates. So yeah, it's around about 2.5% floating, which is a cheaper rate. So if possible, yeah, I'd be trying to do that. But obviously ASB has disappeared. ANZ will probably disappear as well. But yeah, just something to think about. If you can get that lower rate, that can help. But obviously, if you're looking at going off the plans a year or two, the rules could be quite different. Those interest rates could be quite different as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, and hopefully it's given you some great information. Thanks a lot. Bye.